Welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through a Python-powered football analysis project where we dive deep into the performance of two strong teams, that is Chelsea and Real Betis, to figure out who's most likely to win the UEFA Conference League final, just as we did in our previous video, trying to see between Manchester United and Tottenham who was most likely to win the Europa League final based on several features. So before any project I make sure I come up with a set of objectives. And our goals in this project were to identify the formations each team has won the most with, discover when each team most frequently scored the winning goal, compare their average performance across different teams, analyze the average possession in wins versus losses, investigate wind patterns based on venue, and the main objective was to use exploratory data analysis to predict who's more likely to win the UEFA Conference League final. So before going into the visualization and all the summary statistics, so let me just give you an overview of the code for those of us maybe who will be coding and who are in that technical space, whether you're data scientist, data analyst, statistician, all that. So let me just give you a brief overview of what I did. So my first step is always just to get import the necessary libraries. So Pandas and NumPy to be able to interact with the data frames. Seaborn Matplotlib to be able to come up with the plots, IPY widgets, IPython display, to be able to come up with those interactive displays and be able to display them. And then SQL processing to be able to encode variables to convert categorical variables to numeric variables, and matplotlib as well from patch to be able to now do various you know do various adjustments to our plot, maybe change the color and all that, come up with the legends and so forth. So then we have import warnings that will be able to now filter out all the warnings that we might encounter when recording. You know, those warnings when you get, if you've been told maybe this package or this function has been updated to this version and so forth. So we don't want that. So to keep our code clean. And then we now import our dataset, two datasets. So we have the Chelsea dataset and the Real Betis dataset. They're both Excel files, so we have to use Pandas, read Excel. And then now to make sure that the two data frames that we have loaded are indeed the ones you're supposed to work with, it's always to check the height of the data frame. The first five rows, so we have various variables or columns. So we have the date, the competition, the venue, the results, the goals for the goals against, the goal difference, the possession, the formation, as well as the time the winning goal was scored. So from date all the way to formation, those were attributes I got from the site that I got the data from. I'll attach the link to that site. I keep on forgetting it. And then we have the time the winning goal was scored. I was able to get these from the same site, but if you go to the last column, they have uh, the column has something like match details where you just click on there and you now see the various match details where the possession. We have what we had the red cards and the yellow cards, the fall was committed, the penalty was lost. So that's how I was able to come with that column, and where we have where the time the winning goal was scored. So how I created this column is if, for example, a game ended at 3-0, so I'll not record the time the third goal was scored. Rather, I'll record the time the first goal was scored, because if at all the game was to end at 1-0, then that team would have still won. So if I had maybe, for an example, I have a score ending at 4-3. So you can see that I'll record the time the fourth goal was scored. The team that had the fourth goal was scored, because if the game ended at 3-3, that would end up as a draw. But if the game ended at if since the game ended at 4-3, so I'll record the time the fourth goal was scored. If it was 5-3, I'd still record the time the fourth goal was scored, and so forth and so forth. So that's how I came up with the variable time winning goal was scored. And now let's check at the data types to ensure that we have the correct data types to go ahead with our analysis. So we can see the date is an object. Although you not use that column for analysis, but that's an error. But I'll not fix that because I'll not use the date column. So I have competition, I have venue, and result. So these are things that are supposed to convert them from the object data type to the integer data type to be able to do the analysis and to be able to come up with the plots. Then I have the goals for the goals against the goal difference. They are all in integer format, which is very good even in possession. Then I have the formation and the time the winning goal is scored. They are in object format, and both of them should now be integers to be able to uh, work with them for analysis. So for the formation, convert it into numeric, and time winning goal is squared, convert it to numeric. So to be able to convert now my time winning goal to numeric, I defined a function known as the goal time bucket to be able to, first of all, convert it into categorical, then convert the categorical into numeric. So I have, whenever there is a plus sign, so maybe the goal was scored as 45 plus 2, 45 plus 1, 90 plus 3, 120 plus 1, 105 plus, and so forth. So that's what I categorized as added time. And then we have any time between 0 and 45 minutes. I categorize it as the first half. Any time now between 46 and 90, second half between 91 and 120, extra time. Those are my four categories for the goal time bucket, derived from the time winning goal was scored variable. And again, defined another function named preprocessing data now to be able to process all our variables. So the function takes two attributes, that is the data frame and the team name, or whichever you're going to name them. We'll just see it down here. So we only wanted to work with the win and loss categories for the result. We don't want any draw because this is a final. Only two outcomes are possible, that is win or lose. So this is now converting our formation and competition to numeric and storing them in the variables formation and comp encoded respectively. We have another variable which we'll name it as venue encoded. So home is 1, away is a 0. That's how we mapped it. So whenever we have home, sorry, the venue as home, as you can see over here. So if the venue is home, I categorize it as a 1. If it's away, I categorize it as a 0. So then we define the goal time bucket variables once again, and it will now be preprocessed using the goal time bucket function. As you can see, we have applied that function. Then you have the goal difference and the possession, converting them to numeric, that they were already in numeric just to make sure. Then you start the encoders. And now we preprocess our data sets or data frames. So we have Chelsea, and we use now the function we have defined here. As you can see, it takes two attributes. We have the original data set, that is Chelsea, which was defined up here, and we'll name it Chelsea. And then the data frame for Real Betis was denoted by REA, and we'll give it the name Real Betis. And so now onto our last code. That is the last line of code. We defined another function, which we'll call it the plot feature comparison, to be able to come up with the plots and compare them side by side. So it takes the attributes, the first data frame, the name of the first data frame, the second data frame, the name of the second data frame, the title of the title of the plot, as well as the column or the attributes that we are taking. The title of the plot, sorry. Yeah, and then the attribute that we are taking. So I'll not go into details of, these are just some of the things you can adjust or play along with, or even just copy them the way they are to be able to come up with the plots. So another function defined by print summary. This is now will enable us to get a summary stats of both teams. So there's not a plot, it's just a written or a displayed text giving us the video summaries, and it checks the attributes, the data frame, first data frame, the name of the first data frame, second data frame, the name of the second data frame. And then we had our now last function, that is we call it the update function, and what this function does is now updates our plots based on the feature we select from the drop down widget. Okay, so we'll see that, and that's generally what uh, we have used to be able to now go into our analysis. And so now let's now get the insights. So first, we're going to look at the summary, and from the overall summary, we can see that in the total games won and lost. So we're not looking at draws. Remember that Chelsea had a approximately 72% win in their total games won and lost, and an average possession of 60% in the games won. Comparing it to Real Betis, so Real Betis has won around 67% of their games with an average possession of 55%. And so, based on win percentage and possession control, Chelsea has a slight advantage in terms of the win. So you can see 72% and 67%. That's a difference of 5%. And this is in all competition. You're not talking about just the UEFA Conference League. It's in all competitions. So as you can see, Chelsea stands out in terms of the summary. So let's go into our second attribute, that is the winning formation. And if we can take a look. So Chelsea has used around how many? Six formation in this season. I don't know why they keep changing, but it's okay. So they've used six formations, yeah, in the season, and but as you can see, there's only one major formation that have been using, and that is the 4-2-3-1 formation. Comparing it to the Real Betis, they have used three formations for the season, and again, both teams, as you can see from the bar plots, have used the 4-2-3-1 setup this season. Now, Chelsea has used it in 27 wins and 13 losses. On the other hand, Real Betis has used it in 24 wins and 13 losses. So though both teams rely on the same dominant formation, Chelsea has had slightly more success with it. So 24 and 27, that's a difference of 3. And so if both teams go with the 4-2-3-1 formation in the final, Chelsea may have another tactical edge, as you can see. And so let's go into our third attribute, that's the goal timing when winning. And so we can see Chelsea tends to seal the deal in the second half with a handful first half wins and just one in added time. Real Betis also wins most games in the second half, a handful also in the first half. However, they've lost more games in the second half and have actually won more than they have lost in added time. So, as you can see in the second um, half, so Real Betis has lost 9 games, but in the second half, Chelsea have won. I've lost 6 games, sorry, so that's a difference of 3 in terms of the losses. And Chelsea have won 19 games in the second half, 15 games in the second half for Real Betis. That's a difference of 4. So if we look at this, if Chelsea takes an early lead in the first half, they are more likely to maintain it and win the final. Hope you get me there. Because if you can see, they have 13 games won in the first half and 9 games won in the first half by Real Betis. So Chelsea has more games won in the first half than Real Betis, more games won in the second half than Real Betis. While on the other hand, Real Betis has more games won, more games lost in the second half than Chelsea has. So if Chelsea wins the first half, then they are most likely probably to win the match. So let's go to our 04th, yep, fourth attribute, and that's the wins by venue. And if you take a look at this, Chelsea wins majority of their games at their home stadium and also loses fewer games there compared to away matches. On the other hand, Real Betis wins and loses most frequently at home, but shows surprising strength away. So if you can see at Real Betis, so they have won 14 games, 14 games home, 14 games away, and away. Sorry, I mistakenly I saw this one as home. So as well, you can see their dominance at home. It's 4 games lost at home, 4 games lost away. So they are more or less the same compared to Chelsea. So they have won most of their games at home, although Real Betis more or less the same, home and away. And both teams have lost fewer games than the ones they have won at their home stadiums. And on away games, both teams have lost 10. Real Betis have won 14. Chelsea have won 13. And so, considering that the final is being played at a neutral venue, none of the teams is home, none of the teams is home. Both teams are away from their homes, and therefore this could slightly favor Real Betis because you can see that they have won more away games than Chelsea. Uh, Yep, that's it. Because I know it's a slight margin. We have 14 games won away by Real Betis and 13 games won away by Chelsea, but still, you're going to work with that because both teams will be playing away from home. So we compare the away games. So let's go to the wins per league, our fifth feature. As you can see, Chelsea has won most of the games in the Premier League, followed closely by the Conference League. 19 games in the Premier League won and 12 games won in the Conference League. Real Betis shows a similar trend, winning most of the game in La Liga than the Conference League. So both teams have been dominant in terms of their home leagues, La Liga for Real Betis and Premier League for Chelsea. But when you come and now consider the Conference League, we can see that Chelsea has had more Conference League wins as compared to 9 Conference League wins by Real Betis. And therefore, that gives Chelsea a motivational edge to finish strong in the final because if at all they will have won more games than they have lost in the Conference League and they have won more games than the Real Betis, then they would want to continue with this win race. And so, looking at the wins per league, again, Chelsea stands out. Let's go now to the goal difference. So, this is not a feature that we are supposed to look at in our objective, but we are doing analysis, and yep, it's still good to explore your data a bit. So looking at the goal difference, Chelsea has won most of their games and as well lost most of their games with just a 1 goal difference. You can see 14 won with a 1 goal difference and 7 lost with a 1 goal difference. On the other hand, Real Betis follow the same pattern, but has actually won more games with a 1 goal difference than Chelsea. So you can see Chelsea has won 14 with a 1 goal difference. Real Betis has won 17 with a 1 goal difference. Then it has also lost most of its games with a 1 goal difference. So this tells us that both teams often play tight, competitive games, and so the final could very well come down to small moments and narrow margins. That is, you don't expect to have a very huge goal difference. You can have maybe a score of 1-0, maybe 2-0 at most. Like the goal difference, it's either 1 or 2. 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, 4-3, and so forth, or even 2-4. Like the goal difference is between 1 and 2. All right. So what's the verdict? What's the verdict? So looking at our features that we have just come across, You can see Chelsea dominates in terms of their history of games won. It has also dominated in times of winning. The formation they've used well, they have won. The goal time when winning, also Chelsea has dominated. But the wins by venue, Real Betis has dominated, although with a very few margin, with a very low margin. They actually won. Then the wins per league, Chelsea has dominated in the Conference League. With the goal difference, that was not in our objective, but with the goal difference, definitely Real Betis have won most of the games with a one, but one with a goal difference of one. So the goal difference is not determining our final verdict, but as you can see from the summary, the winning formation, the goal time winning, wins by league, wins by venue. So you can see Chelsea has taken 5 out of 6 of those features. And so based on the data, Chelsea appears to be the stronger contender to win the UEFA Conference League. But hey, this is football. As I always say, anything can happen. And remember, this is not a betting advice. It's data driven insight based on past performance. So this is not a betting advice. I highly put that one in bold numerics. Oh, not numeric, but capital letters. This is not a betting advice. This is just an insight based on past performance. So if you found this breakdown helpful or interesting, just do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and share the video with your fellow football fans so that they can enjoy the analysis. And drop a comment below with who you think is going to lift the trophy, Chelsea or Real Betis. I know I'll have a Chelsea fan watching uh, this video. That's a Chelsea fan that I know. So make sure you comment on whether your team or Real Betis will win. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one. See you in the next one. Hopefully, we're now going to analyze a major league, and our next analysis is going to be on the UEFA final. See you in the next one.